message for today is entitled, How to Deactivate Your Willie Chip. How to deactivate your Willie Lynch chip. Now, some of you here might not know who Willie Lynch was. So let me get right into the meat of this today, and I trust that you will take notes, as the brother just said, write down, because I want to give you something to think about today. There was a man in 1832 who was a state official for the state of Virginia. His name was Henry Berry. And Henry Berry said in the Virginia House of Delegates, and I quote him, here's what he said, talking about Africans or Negroes, or what they really called us back then was Negroes. And this is what he said: we have, as far as possible, closed every avenue by which light might enter the Negro's minds. If we could extinguish the capacity to see the light, our work would be complete. They would then be on a level with the beasts of the field, and we would be safe. I am not certain that we would not do it if we could find out the process, and that on the plea of necessity. Again, we're talking about a state senator in Virginia who made that statement before the House of Delegates in 1832. Something about Virginia. There's a city in Virginia called Lynchburg. And that's where Jerry Falwell is from, y'all. Where Liberty Baptist College is from. Lynchburg, Virginia. There's a reason why it's called Lynchburg, Virginia in 2002. Not just because they lynched Africans there, but in honor of a man named Willie Lynch. Willie Lynch there in Virginia, and he said these words, if you will allow me to read his speech to you. But you need to understand what his speech was, all right? So you know how to deactivate your Willie Lynch chip, because brothers and sisters, everybody born in this country, especially every African born in this country, is implanted with the Willie Lynch chip before they even leave the womb. Here's what he said: greetings, gentlemen, I greet you here on the bank of the James River in the year of our Lord 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I am here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experimented with some of the newest and still the oldest methods for controlling slaves. Ancient Rome would envy us if my program is implemented. As our boat sailed south of the James River, which by the way is named in honor of our illustrious king, whose version of the Bible we cherish, I saw enough to know that your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human bodies along its highways in great numbers, you are here using the tree and the rope on occasion. I caught the whiff of a dead slave hanging from a tree a couple of miles back. You are losing valuable stock by hangings. You are having uprisings. Slaves are running away. Your crops are sometimes left in the fields too long for maximum profit. You suffer occasional fires. Your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what your problems are? I do not need to elaborate on them. You know what they are. I'm not here to enumerate your problems. I'm here to introduce you to a method of solving them. I have here in my bag a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or an overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On top of my list is age, but it's there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. Then there is intelligence, size, sex, sizes of plantations, status on plantations, attitude of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley or on a hill, east, west, north, south, whether they have fine hair or whether they have coarse hair, whether they are tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I want to assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The black slaves are receiving this indoctrination on my plantation, and if yours receive this indoctrination, they will carry it on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male against the young black male. The young black male against the old black male. You must use dark-skinned slaves against light-skinned slaves, and light-skinned slaves versus dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male against the female. You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on only us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these kits are your keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. For if used intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful of each other. Thank you, gentlemen. And that's the end of his speech. Like I said, brothers and sisters, today's message is how to deactivate your Willie Lynch chip. Because what I just read here is all a part of the social engineering that we as Africans grew under. This Willie Lynch syndrome that literally has us as Africans hating each other, not trusting each other, the first to talk about each other and put each other down, the first to laugh at each other. Y'all understand what I'm saying? You see, brothers and sisters, it was in the interest and business of the slaveholders to study the nature of the slaves with a view to the results that they wanted to achieve through slavery. Conscious of the injustices and the wrongs that they were perpetuating upon the slaves every hour of every day, they were concerned about what would happen if these slaves rose up in retribution. So they began to study these slaves. They studied their facial response. They studied their body language. They studied the tonality of their voice when they communicated to see if they were about to experience an uprising. If we are going to deactivate our Willie Lynch chip, brothers and sisters, we must, I re-emphasize that, we must understand the Europeans or the Anglo-Saxons or the Caucasoids, whatever word you want to use. We must understand their ideas and their methods for ensuring the perpetuation of a master-slave relationship. Am I talking too heavy for y'all? Right. Y'all sure? All right. I was going to say, hold on, I'm going to talk heavier. How was the Willie Lynch chip installed in the psyche of the African in the first place? Think about that. We have more Africans today in the year 2002 who are absolutely in complete denial of the reality of racism. I mean, absolute denial. They'll tell you in a minute, oh, that stuff is in the past. I mean, straight up stupid denial that racism is alive and well in St. Louis, in this country, and in the entire world. How did this programming get into us, people? Well, let's look at how it happened. First, they took a black African man. Then they took a pregnant African woman and her young African male child. Then they used the same principle that they used in breaking a horse. That's how they broke the African. In other words, their view was, you see, that it's necessary to break a horse from one form of life to another form of life. In other words, you have to reduce them from their natural state in nature. It's understood that nature provides the horse with a natural capacity to take care of their offspring, but not only the horse. Nature also provides the black parent or any parent with a natural instinct to take care of their offspring. So we have to break the natural sting of dependence upon the strong black male within the African family. You see, brothers and sisters, and look at the person next to you and say it's all about money. That's what we're talking about, the economic status of the slaveholders. They wanted to perpetuate their economic security. It's always been about money. So to be sure that their future generations would see the necessity of maintaining Africans in an unnatural state, Europeans held the view that the horse and the African are no good to the economy unless they're broken. For the sake of an orderly future, notice I'm saying an orderly future, special and particular attention must be paid to the female. Did y'all hear what I said? Special and particular attention must be paid to the female and the youngest offspring. Both must be crossbred to produce a variety of division and labor. Both must be taught to respond to a particular new language. Psychological and physical instruction of containment had to be created for both. You see, it goes this way. A wild horse, this is how the white man had this thing, and this is the late great Frederick Douglass put this together. A wild horse, or a wild or natural African, in the mind of the slaveholder was dangerous. Even if they were captured, they were dangerous. For why was that? Because they still had the tendency to seek their customary freedom. And in the process of seeking their freedom, a horse in its natural state or an African in its natural state would kill that slaveholder. So therefore, to ensure their safety, both had to be broken. They felt that we can't rest. We dare not sleep, because they sleep while you're awake, and while you're awake, they're asleep. So these Africans are dangerous near the family house. And it's too much labor to watch them away from the house, and you can't get them to work in their natural state because they want to be free. That's natural, y'all, to want to be free. Something's really wrong when you got an African who does not want to be free. And yet I see so many of ours today who don't want to be free because they're comfortable on the plantation. They don't want to be free. So, how does this breaking take place? The whole purpose of breaking the African was for the sake of taking the body and messing up the mind. Did y'all hear that? Break the will to resist. Break it. Now the breaking process, again, according to the slaveholder, was the same for the African as it was for the horse. Same process. In other words, this thing is so deep how they go. It actually says, you must keep your eye and thoughts on the female. Sisters, you've got to understand how important your role is. Their agenda was keep your eye on the black female and on the offspring of the horse and the female. Pay little attention to the generation of the original breaking. In other words, those first few people that you broke, don't pay them no mind. Your goal is on future generations. Therefore, if you break the female mother, this is Willie Lynch's concept, she will break the offspring in its early years of development. Did y'all hear that? If you break the female mother, she will break her own offspring. in the early years of its development until it's old enough to work. And when it is old enough to work, she will deliver her own offspring up to the slaveholder. Because her normal female protective tendencies will have been lost in the original breaking process. It goes on to say, for example, take the wild stud horse, a female horse, and an already infant horse, and compare the process with two captured African males in their natural state. Now check this out. This is going to make you a little angry. Two African males in their natural state, a pregnant African woman with her infant offspring. It goes on to say, breed the mare and the stud until you have a desired offspring. Then you can turn the stud to freedom until you need him again. Train the female horse where she will eat out of your hand. And she in turn will train her infant horse to eat out of your hand also. When it comes to breaking the uncivilized African, use the same process. But vary the degree and step up the pressure so as to do a complete reversal of mind. Check this what they did. Take the meanest and most restless African. Y'all see this in your head now. Take the meanest and most restless African, strip him of his clothes in front of the remaining male Africans. And the females and the African infants. Tar and feather him. Tie each leg to a different horse, faced in opposite directions. Set him afire and beat both horses to pull them apart in front of the other Africans while they're looking at him. The next step is to take a bullwhip and beat the remaining African males to the point of death in front of the females. Y'all hear this? Don't kill them though, but put the fear of God in them. Now I wonder what God is talking about. For don't kill them because they can be, it says here, they can be useful for future breeding. The breaking process of the African woman. Take the African female, check this out now, and run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires. White man. Test her in every way because she is the most important factor for good economics. All right. Y'all hear this? The black female is the most important factor for good economics. If she shows any sign of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract the last bit of resistance out of her. Take care not to kill her, for in doing so you